Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is FPC Radio Live. It is Monday morning, the night after Super Bowl 58, and your Kansas City Chiefs, I'm talking to you people in Kansas City and surrounding areas, are once again the Super Bowl champions, having gone back-to-back first team since the New England Patriots 20 years ago. So congratulations to the Chiefs. And, John, we said, we said the other day, we hope this was a good game. And quite frankly, it kind of turned out very similar to the Patriots and the Panthers back in 2003 during that season, because early on it kind of looked like it might end 10-10 or 10-13, 13-10, something like that. And then we got some really good back and forth action there at the end. First impressions, obviously, the big storyline coming out, Patrick Mahomes winning his third Super Bowl MVP. I thought he was, again, I mean, this is, these are the things that I think, and you can point to as being the most valuable, is like, it's not necessarily when you do these things. Actually, it is when you do these things. It's the important moments, whether you elevate your game or not. I don't care what you do in the first quarter, although that may have a factor in what happens at the end of the game. If you consistently make the plays, I don't care what plays are available. If you make the plays at the end of the game consistently, I mean, that's greatness. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what anything else says. That's greatness. His best play of the night, John, that run straight up the middle. That diagnosed it immediately that the defense just was not prepared for it. I mean, right up the middle of the field, they had all their backs turned to the middle of the field, and that was a crucial play. And then a very predictable, I even called it out loud before it was even snapped on the 4th and 1. I was like, this is going to be a Mahomes bootleg. And the entire 49ers team fell for it. And it was just nice and easy. And those are the things that he excels at. And I think we saw yesterday because, was it a great game? Not for the entire 60 minutes, but he was great when it mattered most. And that's the most important thing. And that's what you want from your quarterback. And that's why you win.
So, some of the commonalities between Brady and Mahomes, obviously their playing styles are different, but the things they do have in common is leadership, the intangibles, and the ability to have short memories. Like Tom Brady with the Patriots in 9 Super Bowls, the Patriots never scored a first quarter touchdown.
Yeah.
And certainly Kansas City barely got 3 points before we got to halftime last night. But they just hung in there, right? They just don't make critical mistakes. Now, Mahomes did throw an interception. That's going to happen. But the whole first half, I'm like, San Francisco should be up by 14, 17 points. They were dominating. They were the better team. And yet Kansas City hung in there. And at that point, I go, Kansas City's going to win it. Who didn't think he was going to tie the game up at least at the end of regulation and then go ahead and win it in overtime? Like, I just said, this guy is going to take care of business. Kind of the way we always thought about it with Brady. Like, why'd you give this guy yet another chance?
Well,
don't let those all-time greats do that.
Well, and we saw it just, I mean, across the board, though, even just the offense in general, the night and day view of how these teams approach things. The Chiefs offense never panicked. They look, the big play to Travis Kelce. I mean, again, we sit there and ask the question all the time: how do these teams just forget about Travis Kelce? And it's like he catches this just a basic crossing route across the middle of the field, and he takes it up the field. All of a sudden, that changes the entire complexion of the drive. And meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Kyle Shanahan decides all he wants to do is run the ball 13 times in the second half and overtime. And I think you said it before the show. I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit because this was a good number. But you said they were what? They started 11 of 13 plays out of the half throwing?
11 of 12. Yeah, so they were up 10-3 at the half. Kansas City got a field goal in the middle of all that because it's a 10-6. Their first 12 offensive plays in the second half, 11 were throws.
Right.
And you gave one touch to Christian McCaffrey. You have the best running back in football. You have the best blocking fullback, the best left tackle, and the best blocking tight end. Why the hell not run the ball with Christian McCaffrey behind those 3 monsters and let them stop it? Because they weren't able to stop it. But then again, Kyle Shanahan likes to play chess rather than checkers when playing checkers makes a hell of a lot more sense. A lot of commonality with Mike Myers back in Super Bowl 36. Like, I've got to prove to you I'm smarter than everyone.
The greatest show on turf.
Sometimes. Yeah, let me shut out my best player in Marshall Faulk. And they did that with Christian McCaffrey last night. It's like, really? Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy, he was okay. He's a good
He
quarterback.
was really good to start, and I'm sitting here thinking like,
Yes.
wow, this guy looks like he belongs because right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, it's like they were moving the ball, and he just looked comfortable, and that's a great sign if you're a 49ers fan because you're like, okay, this guy has it, and then the fumble happened, and that really changed things because it went from the 49ers might come in here and just roll to, well, of course they fumbled, and now it's Kansas City's got the momentum, and then you probably knew something was not quite right when your guy Trent Williams got back to back pre-snap penalties, or I'm sorry, one was
Terrible.
a pre-snap and then I believe the other was
Yep.
a hold, right?
A hold, yeah, on a really nice completion from Purdy to, I believe it was Debo
Either
Samuel.
Debo, or
Was it
actually I think that
Debo?
was key. That Kittle reception that wasn't,
That's right.
and then
That's right.
Kittle really until the towards the end of the game on that big third down play really was quiet, and that's a credit to Kansas City's defense, who were
It was,
phenomenal. They were phenomenal. So
I've been hearing all these things about, and look, I love Mahomes. He's awesome. I have him now as the third greatest quarterback in Super Bowl era. But let's give some credit to that Kansas City defense. Chris Jones is a stud. I compared him to Richard Seymour last week, and I think it's apropos. Those two corners, Snead
and
and
McDuffie,
McDuffie. Oh,
phenomenal.
that's the best pair of corners in the league. Steve Spagnuolo obviously is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. Heck, look what he did against Brady and the Patriots back in Super Bowl 42. He's done that since. Great defensive coordinator. So let's give them a lot of credit as well. Just San Francisco just did some stupid things, and like they take the opening kickoff, go down. Doesn't look like they're going to get stopped, and they fumble. And we talked about this on Friday. Again, the Brady Mahomes comparison. The commonality is that because they're both so great, it seems like the other teams that they're facing do stupid things, right?
Absolutely,
all the time, isn't it? Isn't it crazy? It's like, oh, we got that guy on the other sideline, so a 10-point lead's not enough. Let's do something stupid, and it's happened in we're a half a dozen Super Bowls now between the two guys, right?
Right,
the other team was like even Baltimore in the AFC Championship game, Ian, like they could run the football at will, and they decided not to. Why?
And that's the thing. It's like either both of these players, Brady and Mahomes, they don't necessarily have to and this is what's frustrating. I think I hope people start to realize because like I said before we got on the air, if Brady had a game like this where there were 4 field goals, one of which was the longest in Super Bowl history, John.
Mm-hmm.
Like multiple defensive plays, including a muffed punt that turned into a short field and also a fumble in a crucial moment. I mean, people would be yapping about Brady being carried by his defense. And look, there's no doubt about it that this was an entire team effort. But again, John, it's not about like, and I don't, Aaron Rodgers is a contemporary, so I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a dig at him here, but it's not necessarily about how great it looks in the first quarter or against the Lions or against the wild card team or the divisional round. It's what you do in the biggest moments in the championship games, in the Super Bowl. And you can argue there's only about 3 guys, Mahomes, Brady, and probably Joe Montana, that have excelled at this level at those crucial moments. And that's what's important. So it doesn't matter that, first half, you're sitting there thinking like, oh man, this Chiefs team, another half where it's, another quarter they didn't score a touchdown or, they only have a field goal. I mean, how many Super Bowl quarters now have they been shut out? Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's going to take quite a bit for that game to ever get out of hand. And like you said, I mean, that whole time you're like, the longer San Francisco just gets in their own way. And again, you got to give much of the credit to the defense of Kansas City, of course. But San Francisco is a team that's capable of overcoming that, John. They're an elite team too, and it doesn't take anything away from Kansas City. But the reality of it is San Francisco is capable of overcoming that, and they just didn't. And again, play calling was an issue, execution was an issue, and just the moment was too big. The moment was too big. And like I said, I mean, I thought, when you look across the board, you can say, okay, show me the 10 best throws of the game. Brock Purdy probably has 7 of them. doesn't mean he was better.
Right.
Because those 7 didn't come at the right time. And unfortunately for the 49ers, I mean, that's a story of their Super Bowl yet again.
And Ian, that's a compliment to Patrick Mahomes, right? Because he's
absolutely. I hope people understand that.
Take it
please.
as a compliment. Yes. No, seriously, it's almost like, okay, compare actors, and one guy's an over-the-top actor, and everybody's enthralled with him, and yet the other actor, who's very subtle, is a better actor, but maybe doesn't have the scene that everybody looks at and says, "Well, that's the greatest scene ever," right? But that guy's a better actor. And these are complimentary thoughts on Patrick Mahomes. He's mastering the position, right? Like you said, the run up the middle. That's him. That's just a guy that knows what he's doing out there. He's getting better
and
playing the position.
How many times have I said? I'm going to pat myself on the back here. How many times have I said that his legs are the most dangerous part of his play? I've been saying it for weeks now, over and over and over again, and every week we see him make a game-changing type play on his legs. Sometimes it's a product of the defense just not wanting to hit him. I get that. But like this week or yesterday, no. I mean, he made that play up the middle, which again, all of a sudden, that doubt, I mean, the 49ers defense was tired. Sure. I mean, that's part of the game. That's not an excuse. It's just part of the game. And it's not a reason why they lost. And the reason why they lost was because Patrick Mahomes and the offense made the plays. He did
it in the last year's Super Bowl too, and he ran to set up the game-winning field goal, right? And he did it last night, ran to set up the game-winning touchdown drive. And again, that again opens up things for that offense, because now in the back of your mind, he can run. It was too little too late on the case of the 49ers last night and a year ago with Philadelphia. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's phenomenal. Like I said, I put out my top 10 quarterback of the Super Bowl here. I have him at number 3. And again, postseason record, Patrick Mahomes 15-3, Peyton Manning 14-13, Aaron Rodgers 11-10. I mean, Patrick Mahomes could lose his next 10 postseason games and would still have a better postseason record than Peyton Manning. And I'm a Manning guy. Manning and Rodgers, I love all these guys. All great, but this kid's pretty special. But, and, obviously we know how great Brady was.
But these are the perfect examples of how, like I said, the difference between levels of greatness are simply when you perform and how you perform in those moments. And like I said, I mean, you can point to all the great divisional round and wild card games that Aaron Rodgers has had. He's been a mediocre at best quarterback in the conference championship game.
Oh, been poor actually,
and poor. I'm
a huge fan of it. You know that. 1-4 in those conference championship games. I think 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Like very little in the second half of those games. And again, my biggest criticism with him is he sometimes is too smart on the football field. When something goes wrong. Okay, let me put it this way. He played with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. In overtime, Valdes-Scantling turned a 7-yard gain into a 4-yard loss, all by himself, right? I will guarantee you that Rodgers would have went off the rails in that situation.
And he's not going back to him the next play.
Yeah, exactly. And Mahomes, was pissed, which he should be as the quarterback. What did Mahomes do at that point? Okay, he's out here. I gotta use him.
He was open,
he was open. I'll get him the ball. Brady would do that too. Brady, as he got older, would shut guys up, but that was more of a macro than a micro. I mean, when he really needed someone, he'd go to them.
Well, this is
exactly what would have happened with Rodgers. He would have lost his mind at that point, and that would have been they would have lost.
Yeah,
and put it that way, they would have lost the game.
Well, and look, I mean, first of all, Brady, you don't have the record for throwing to the most the most individual players in NFL history by shutting people out. So to your point, it's like later
a long time though. That helps too.
Well, it does, but it's kind of like the numbers. It's like you just don't accumulate numbers by being there. You still have to execute. And going back to the point about Rodgers and Manning, I mean, they didn't execute. And again, people will point to, well, Tom Brady didn't have some great AFC championship games. No, you're right. There's some games where he was not at his best. But when he needed to be at his best, he was. And for example, that Seattle game, obviously Rodgers was not at his best because he didn't take advantage of the turnovers, but they had opportunities at the end of the game. Same against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
They didn't start great, but they had opportunities at the end of the game. And those are the little things that separate greatness, and that's why wins are a quarterback stat. That's why it is important to win Super Bowls and championship games. I don't care how cool you look doing these other things. If you don't win these in these big moments, then I don't want to hear you talk amongst the Bradys, the Montanas, and now the Mahomes, because again, you, outside of those three guys, it's gonna be hard for you to make a case for other players stepping up in those moments in bigger situations. You can talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Terry Bradshaw is the one guy that comes to mind. He always gets left out, and I kind of revisioned my top 10 list. I put him at number 8. And look, 4 Super Bowls, he was the MVP in 2 of them. He was a monster. Mm-hmm. But you do have to bring in some of the regular season where he threw as many interceptions as touchdowns, and but he was a great quarterback. I mean, those are the guys that in those big moments just step up. Well, and like, look, even Rodgers won conference championship win. He wasn't all that great against the Bears.
No,
he really was. I mean, got off to an incredible start. The first 2 drives, I'm like, okay, they're going to win this game 35-10. And he needed his defense to score the game-winning touchdown. B.J. Rodgers with the interception return for a touchdown was the difference in that game. He wasn't even that good in that conference championship game against the Bears, his first conference championship game. He was sensational in the Super Bowl, and he's always been good in the divisional round except for 2 years ago when something set him off early in the game, and he just kind of shut it down, and you can't do that. I mean, okay, by nature, you're a goalie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you have to, in some ways, have a similar mentality. Right? Like, okay, your defenseman makes a bad play, it costs you a goal. At that point, you've got to say, okay, I still need that guy to help me, right? I mean, It's not a situation where you don't go to the coach and say, well, whatever you do, don't put that guy on the ice again,
right?
Because I don't trust him. And you've got to make good on that stuff. That's what your guy Martin Brodeur or Patrick Roy, the all-time great, would do. And it's Roger. That's the missing thing. He's got like this missing thing which separates him from these other guys we're talking about.
And to some extent too, Peyton Manning had that. Let's not forget. Like, I mean, he used to get very, remember the idiot liquored up kicker. And perhaps Vanderjagt did deserve that. I understand it, but at the same time, that's a lot of those things you don't air publicly.
Criticize his offensive line after the playoff loss 1-2. Yeah, I mean,
he's been.
You don't hear Mahomes do that. You don't hear Brady do that.
No,
Montana was comatose. I mean, I had never seen anybody more calm in situations than Montana. Well, Brady and Mahomes pretty calm too.
Yeah,
Brady calm, but also fiery a little bit. Well, Montana was a great competitor, but yeah. Never heard those guys blame anybody. Marino was famous for blaming everybody.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, again, that's why.
More than anyone.
Why do you think people pity him now? That's what I'm saying. Like, we had a great conversation before we got on the air, folks. I mean, unfortunately,
we always do.
Yeah, we always do, and then we present you with this. It's kind of like Peyton Manning going from regular season to the playoffs. It just the play just drops off.
Good one.
Yeah, thank you. No,
we got to do more like Brady and Mahomes. We can't speak before the.
Well, no, we always finish well. We always finish well. That's how it is. So people will remember that, hopefully. So, anyways, I don't know. I think I kind of gave us a backhanded compliment there. I don't even know. It's early.
Us all at the same time.
I haven't had as much caffeine as I would have liked at this point, but regardless, again, great game last night. Braden brought it up earlier. I wanted to address it about Spags, 18-4 in the playoffs as a D coordinator. I will point out though that two of those losses came at the hand of a Tom Brady led team. Just saying.
Okay, let me. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, 18, right?
Yeah, 18 in the Super Bowl.
18 in the Super Bowl.
Where he put up
coordinator 18.
Yeah.
I don't think he was.
Was he? Braden,
I think they hired him after that year.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Actually, Braden, you can correct me on that one.
Sutton. Bob Sutton, I think, might have been the defensive coordinator that year, and that's why they moved on and brought in Spags.
Right.
I know Brady beat him in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure Spags came after that. And I can call him Spags. Again, Italian guy, getting in the middle of winning Super Bowl, so that's important.
Well, I still for some reason, I feel like I did see it. Now, maybe this person made the same mistake I just did. But I do feel like
Joe Burrow beat him. right?
Yeah, I know Joe
A couple years
Burrow,
ago.
obviously,
Yep.
but I do think I feel like there was one other instance where they might have beaten him. As I don't know. Either way, I'll take the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Super Bowl's okay with me.
I'm sure. Well, Brady's beat every defensive
Yeah,
coordinator at least
well,
twice. So yeah,
but no, I mean he's had his struggles obviously against Spags too because of the
yeah,
Giants, you know. So
yeah.
it's not like he's certainly a guy that deserves his credit. And I'm surprised isn't people aren't knocking down the door, especially based on how many defensive coaches we saw get hired this offseason. I'm surprised.
He was an incredible failure with the Rams, right? But
Yeah,
so was Josh
well,
McDaniels with Denver,
well,
and
that's
he got a second chance.
that doesn't stop
No,
anyone from rehiring people. Trust me.
unless if Kansas City's smart, you're like
you pay him as much as a
right
head coach is what you pay him
because he really is the head coach of the defense, and that's the greatness of Andy Reid. He knows to get the hell out of the way and let that guy handle the defense, and and again, the going rate for coordinators is like $5 to $6 to $7 million, so that's money well spent. And then maybe if Reid retires, which I don't think he's going to retire after this year, because you got to go for 3 in a row if you're Reid.
Oh, sure, no, look,
Travis Kelce, right?
I think
you have to. You don't want to be the bull breaking it up in the middle of a streak. And maybe Spags is the head coach because I don't think he's that old. I think he might be younger than me, and good for the old guys because Andy Reid's going to be 66. And still going strong.
Braden just brought it up in the chat. Spags is only a year younger than Andy Reid. Is
he really?
Yeah.
Oh well, my paisans, we
age well,
really well. We do.
Yeah, so
wow,
apparently,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made a lot of money as a defensive coordinator, and maybe that's just what he likes doing.
And look, maybe he's the most self-aware coordinator we've ever seen, and he realizes that what, it's not better than this because maybe he doesn't want to be a head coach. John, maybe he's okay at this point in his career being a great defensive coordinator on a great team with a young defense. Now they got their biggest free agent issue in the offseason is Chris Jones. I think we've seen him all season when he came back, how much of an impact he has on this defense. But they got you talk about McDuffie and those guys. McDuffie's a second year player, John.
One of the youngest defenses in football.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're so why would Spags want to leave that situation to go pick one of the worst situations in football, meaning one of the open jobs, which is generally what it is. So
you're saying he's a little bit more self-aware than Matt Patricia, who said, to be an offensive coordinator.
Matt Patricia. See, there's a difference. Matt Patricia is taking any job he can possibly get before people realize that.
Oh man,
they shouldn't be giving him jobs anymore. So he'll do whatever. You want to be the second assistant to the special teams coach? Absolutely, Matt Patricia. You're a rocket scientist. You can figure it out. Offensive coordinator, sure. Bring in some of those defensive
Go ahead, do it.
Yeah, exact concepts into the offensive room. See how that works.
Another guy who should be giving 10% of his net worth to Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. And look, this is a discussion for another day, but I know there's a lot of people out there defending Eric Bieniemy. Well, maybe he's just a product of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Sure.
I don't think that's unfair because we've seen it with Josh McDaniels. I think we've seen it to some extent with Bill O'Brien and some other great coordinators, Nathaniel Hackett. Outside of Aaron Rodgers and that great Green Bay defense. To an extent, you're only as good as your quarterback. And if
Joe Philbin, got a job with the Dolphins based on that's when I support my guy because he won 2 MVPs with Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator and one with Joe Philbin as his offensive coordinator. Somewhere in there, I think Alex Van Pelt was kind of involved. I think he was his quarterback coach in 2014. So let's see how Alex Van Pelt does with the Patriots as the offensive coordinator. It's the players. Hey, you know what? Now you can become a Raiders fan because your guy is buying 7% of the franchise.
No, I will
support your guy.
No, I'll support my guy. I'm not being a Raiders fan. You're kidding me?
Why? The one interesting thing is, okay, so he's getting 7% for about $400 million. So that makes it that franchise is worth $5.5 billion. Look, this is what I've always. Again, I'm in some ways I'm a bigger Brady fan than you in the sense of how much he meant to the franchise. like even the ownership, it's like, what did they exactly won without Tom Brady? They can't even win in soccer. They get the Revolution's the only team of the original teams in the MLS that has never won an MLS Cup, right?
They weren't they like essentially the Bills in the early 2000s?
They lost like 4 or 5
yeah.
finals. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they can't get the stadium right. And look, Bob Kraft is a very philanthropic guy, and God bless him. But he's another guy that should give 10% of his net worth to Brady. But if you really wanted really good PR, why wouldn't you? I mean, I wouldn't just give 7% of the franchise to Brady, even though he kind of deserves it. Would you sell 7% of the franchise to Brady for $400 or $500 million?
If you're the Patriots?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, the cash flow is good. You know, you're getting $400 to $500 million. You can
look. You want
a lighthouse.
You want Tom Brady involved in the Patriots franchise for the rest of his life. I mean, that's how you honor the guy, is keeping him involved, not shutting him out, not having these like prolonged periods where like, oh my God, I can't believe Tom Brady hasn't been back since. No, like you and yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you do something like that.
I mean, John Elway with the Broncos, he wasn't really an owner. He was kind of offered something, and the money wasn't. It was a different time, obviously.
Right.
Players weren't retiring. You know, Brady's a billionaire at this point, or pretty darn close to it. But yeah, I did like. He should just be gifted that, because it's almost like, Tom, thanks a lot, because we are what we are because of you.
Yeah.
Here's 7% of the franchise. I mean, what 7% in the grand scheme of things is a lot of money, but it's not that much control of the franchise.
No, but it's, I think, certainly more than he's, or at least some of what he's contributed to the franchise. So, but all right,
yeah, I'd go even higher.
Yep. Yeah, I would trust me too. I'd give him 12. Make it 12%. Yeah,
that would be good.
Well, he should have won 19 Super Bowls, so let's give him 19%. Right? That's how it works.
Why not?
Why not?
I'm on board. What the hell? Why not?
Okay, cool. I like it. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here today. Once again, congratulations to the Chiefs. Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more football, and well, we're going to start getting into the offseason mode. Maybe we'll talk some basketball, John. There is another sport going on right now, so we'll see. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll talk to you then.